I wish there was something in these beers. These empty bottles have been sitting here for like 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
They probably smell delicious.
Well, they're empty.
Yeah, but they have residues.
Yeah, they do.
Have you paid your residues? The check is in the mail. Wow, it's bad. I'm glad that's recorded forever.
Cool, yeah.
Got to get all these dumb things out of my mouth now. Blah, 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 blah.
On this episode of the MacGuffin Guild, an evil force has taken Keri's boyfriend's life. Now, an unearthly phantom has arrived for some revenge in The Wraith. This 1986 action sci-fi thriller stars Charlie Sheen, Nick Cassavetes, Sherilyn Fenn, and Randy Quaid as Sheriff Loomis. Written and directed by Mike Marvin. We're going to talk about Charlie Sheen's career, Clint Howard's hair, tagline spoilers, the Wraith soundtrack, comparisons to The Crow, and the tragedy of Bruce Ingram. We'll discuss the other works of Mike Marvin, the Wraith's questionable method of vengeance, Brooke Burke, and stunts with cars. We'll also get into PG-13 boob shots, plot issues, the Mannequin of revenge car porn movies, the best barn explosion ever, and how the guys would do on Jeopardy. I'm Pat Dougherty, and as always, I'll be joined by my fellow MacGuffins, Justin Jones and Mike Antonio. Our theme song was written and performed by Jordan Vincent. He's heaven sent and hell on wheels. He's the Wraith.
I raised you better than this.
And welcome to another episode of the MacGuffin Guild. As you guys know, a MacGuffin is a plot device used to drive along a story. And we here on the MacGuffin Guild like to use the film as a MacGuffin to drive along our conversations. My name is Pat Dougherty, and as always, I am joined by my fellow MacGuffins. Justin Jones is with me. Justin, how's it going?
You asked us like 3 or 4 times if we're ready, and I thought I was, but I'm not. Can you come back to me?
I'll come back. Mike,
Okay.
Mike Antonio is also with us. Mike, how's it going?
Oh, I'm not ready either.
Oh,
Go back
Jesus
to Justin.
Justin, have you thought of anything yet? Like your general mood?
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm doing good.
Great or good?
The greater
Somewhere
good.
in between. Is there a word between great and good? Because the phrase, that's it. That's me. I'm it.
That's it?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a word. Mike, are you aware of a word?
I think there's nothing in between.
I'm fair to Midland, as they say.
Mike, how are you?
Pretty good. How you doing, Pat?
I'm good.
No, we don't ask you that enough.
No, well, I'm not even worried about that. What I'm worried about is the fact that it sounds like 3 lifelong friends literally can't even have a general conversation as in how they're doing.
Well, if we're being real, I'm actually doing pretty terrible. Can I tell you all about it?
Sure, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, please.
No, I'm fine.
2 hours later.
Yeah. That was a pretty good cry sesh. What's going on with the...
Yeah, I'm glad you got all that out, Justin.
Yeah. So anyway, today's film is The Wraith, which, Justin, you want to talk about ghosts and whatnot. This is, I guess that's what a wraith is, right? Like a ghost or a ghoul or a specter.
It's a spirit.
A phantasm.
A spirit.
A poltergeist. I don't know what the difference is.
1986, PG-13. PG-13? This thing...
Let's get into that later.
It definitely walked on the edge.
You're damn right it did.
I saw nipples.
I saw multiple nipples.
Yeah, the scantily clad.
Yep.
Sexual situations.
Yeah.
Violence.
Nips. Yeah, violence. A lot of violence. I mean...
Clint Howard's hair.
That in itself was enough to push it over the edge. I'm shocked.
That was one of the most offensive things I've seen in the last decade.
Besides Clint Howard himself.
He's a national treasure.
He is a national
Just that
treasure.
hair.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So this was written and directed by Mike Marvin, who I believe, and I actually I want to use this opportunity to confirm this because it was my understanding, but I believe went on to do a lot of softcore pornography.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I think if you look at his, well, here, let me check real quick.
Did a lot of Skinamax films.
Yeah, I got that impression.
Interesting.
I'll tell you what, if you can get away with throwing nipples in a PG-13 movie, you have some kind of skill involving...
He's definitely got a
soft
skill set.
So here we go. Here's his director credits: Madame Savant, Arranged Marriage, Maui Heat. Some of his production credits, The Pool Boys.
Oh boy.
9 Miles Down, I'm not sure what that is. Night Train, that could mean anything.
Yeah.
Camilla, Timber Falls, A Rock and a Hard Place.
Oh boy.
Night Train stars Danny Glover and has Steve Zahn and Lily Sobieski.
Oh,
So
really?
Well, look,
Yeah,
when
I'm
I
gonna go
think
on a
soft,
limb and say it's
when I
probably
think
not
softcore
softcore.
porn, I think
Danny
I
Glover?
definitely think Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
And Steve Zahn.
Yeah. I do not want to watch that movie.
Oh man,
Shit.
it is a horror crime mystery.
I kind of do want to watch that movie. I'm
Anyway,
intrigued.
well, here, so just a little about Mike Marvin, because I know nothing about him. He's a native of Tahoe City and fourth-generation Californian. His family first visited Lake Tahoe in the early 1920s, and by the late 1930s, the lake was the family's summer destination. I don't care about all
that's
that. I mean,
boring.
no offense. No offense to Mike.
Not me,
All
Mike.
right, let's see here. Here we go. In 1972, Mike produced his first 90-minute ski movie entitled Earth Rider, and it featured the legendary ski parachute jump-off Yosemite's El Capitan. I don't even know what the fuck this is
What's
talking
happening?
about.
Anybody listening, can you decipher any of this information?
This was the birth of extreme skiing in America. Mike's next 3 ski movies were Children of the Morning, Wingless Angels, and Spirit, the latter of which won the Virgin Island Film Festival's Best Sports Documentary in 1976. The same year, Mike moved to Los Angeles to begin his Hollywood career. His first film studio was Six Pack, starring Kenny Rogers. Mike then discovered a novella entitled Legends of the Fall, brought it to the attention of Hollywood studios. He wrote several drafts of Legends during his period. Hold on, I lost my spot.
During his period.
Explains why it's such an emotional tale.
I'm confused.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Mike, that was good.
You
Anyway,
said it. I just repeated it.
All right. Let me clarify. He wrote several drafts of Legends, and during this period was commissioned by Edward S. Feldman to write Hot Dog the Movie.
Oh, I like that movie.
Yeah, with David Naughton and Shannon Tweed.
Yeah.
The story was loosely based on Mike's true life adventures making ski movies all over the world.
Wow.
The fictionalized version follows a young freestyler named Harkin Banks to the championships at Squall. Hot Dog opened number 2 in the country behind Terms of Endearment and grossed $20 million and change at the box office. Blah, blah, blah. He's remained in Hollywood. He's written, directed, and produced almost 36 movies, TV movies, and episodic TV. For the past 5 years, he has been head of production at A-Mark Entertainment and returned to independent producing last October. He is also an author, artist, and musician with roots dating back to the Kingston Trio, of which his cousin Nick Reynolds was a founding member. He still performs the music of the Kingston Trio with Joshua Reynolds, Nick's son, and blah, blah, blah. Mike's paintings hang in some of the most beautiful homes in the country. That's kind of a one-off sentence that doesn't tie into anything that I read prior. I didn't know he painted. But anyway, so it doesn't say a lot about... I mean, if you look... Let me look back at his titles. I swear, Sunstorm? Is that a...
I will say Pool Boys stars Matthew Lillard and Tom Arnold, so I'm hoping that's not
I would
another
assume that's a
softcore
comedy
porn
of
one
some
as well.
sort.
All right, maybe my assessment is incorrect and unfair, and I apologize to Mike Marvin. So I
should.
take back the softcore porn.
But even if he did do that, so what?
No, not that there's anything wrong with it. I just, based on an initial scan through, I thought that was the case.
Some of the titles were a little vague.
Now, Arranged Marriage looks a little, I mean, the cover itself. looks
I mean,
a
Hot
little...
Dog the movie sounds like it could be kind of risque. Like just like we didn't know what it was about. You know what it was about.
Anyway, yes, you're right. So maybe that was unfair of me, but it sounds like he definitely... I didn't know about the skiing stuff, so that's kind of cool to know that he has not only a history, but sounds like an impact in that field.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was involved with Hot Dog the movie, which is cool to me because, like I said, I'm a fan of that movie too. I mean, not to say it's a masterpiece or anything, but I like it. I find it entertaining for sure.
I disagree. It is a masterpiece.
Well, all right, there you go.
I've never actually seen it.
I do like a personal quote of his. Success in the movie business isn't about money. It's about survival.
I believe that. Not from personal experiences, obviously, but from stories you hear. And
They say the same about the podcast world.
Oh, yeah, it's
It's
ruthless.
certainly not about money.
Yeah.
So Rotten Tomatoes, would anyone care to guess the
Critic score?
out of 14 critic reviews, the score on the tomato meter?
27%.
What'd you say?
Critics, 27.
I'm
27?
going to say
Mike?
41.
Close. 36%.
Yeah.
And audience score based on over 9,000 audience reviews
Justin?
and ratings.
It's definitely going to be higher. This is definitely an audience film and not a critic film. I'll go 47.
I'll say 57.
61.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Mike, you're like a ringer, dude. I'm going to take you
Yeah.
on The Price is Right.
Oh, I always thought I'd do pretty well on there.
I think you would.
But
Well, you work in the environment.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
but
it's
even
true.
before I worked in that field.
If I were to ask you can you gauge like the ebbs and flows of say like the banana business?
No. I don't know. I don't know none of that.
I'm not usually one who think there's a master plan where everyone just has like a meaning in life and like some place they were destined to be. But based on a lot of this information that's coming to light, I'm kind of thinking maybe there is. Like
Wait,
your
about,
Price is Right connection, the produce.
are we
market.
talking about Mike still and
Yeah.
Mike's lot in life?
Actually, though, I've always been better at Wheel of Fortune, so that's my forte.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm super good at Wheel of Fortune.
I was terrible at Wheel of Fortune.
What
Let's
about
talk about
what
that
about
for 45
Jeopardy?
minutes.
Jeopardy, I'm hit or miss. Like, it depends on the category. Some categories I can sweep. Some categories I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
What about Roman politics?
Fuck out of here. I don't
The
know.
Rapist
Yeah.
for 500.
I tell you what, if they ask me to name something that I can that you can drink out of, I got that one.
Oh yeah.
A leather glove.
When I was a kid, I didn't understand how anyone got any of those answers. And now as an adult, when I watch it, I'm like, wow, how much useless shit is in my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the key is, see, that's the thing. Like, I agree with you that I have a lot packed up there, but the fact they can reference that information in seconds
yeah.
is the astounding part to me.
Right.
Like, I think all of us can have a laundry list. How many times on this podcast do I hem and haw trying to think of a damn word?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how would I ever do on a show
and
like
you
that?
second guess yourself.
I couldn't remember Tom Waits' name
Yeah.
for crying out loud. I do like watching Jeopardy when someone gets something wrong. I'm like, dumbass.
Yeah, I know. No, you idiot! Oh my
Yeah.
god, I wish I was on that show right now.
And then I
So-
walk in the other room and I forget what I went in there for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just turn the light on, stand there for
Yeah.
a second, turn it off,
Yeah.
and walk back out.
Yep.
I know, I'm in there for like 35 minutes.
Just wandering around.
Just rediscovering.
Yeah. I've probably been abducted multiple times in my life and don't even know it. I just thought I was going to get a pencil or something.
Like,
This is
you're
normal,
talking
35
alien
minutes later.
abduction, I'm assuming.
Yeah, alien abduction, yeah. We've already been through terrestrial abduction before.
Oh, yeah, that's
listen,
right.
I may have just thought of a really cool plot idea. Has this ever happened? So we're talking about like the alien abduction stuff, which I know that's happened, but
Yeah. In real life?
I was wondering if there was ever like a situation where there was like a ghost abduction.
Like a spiritual abduction.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
can
pull
you
it.
guys think? Like, I know, like,
Carol Ann went into the TV. I guess you could say she was sort of kind of abducted.
Yeah, the evil
by
spirits
the
did definitely
spirits.
take her. Yeah, but
I would love, you hear alien abduction all the time. I would love if there was a wraith abduction.
yeah,
Yeah, like The Exorcist kind of too. Like they had Reagan was like
her body
in
was
there
abducted.
still, but she was like her body was being possessed.
Yeah, but
That's
I'm
kind of
talking
like
the vanishing kind of abducted, like
or
gone.
they just take you and you're
yeah,
gone.
more like Carol Ann and Poltergeist. Like the bitch is gone. Like where'd she go? Like something ain't right.
Interesting.
Anyway, we can come back around to that. So let's get into some reviews here.
Okay.
So Timeout says, I'll start with some negatives, then we'll get to some positives. Timeout says, the town...
That was it? Was that the whole review?
Super reviewer.
Not so much a reviewer as an observer.
Yeah.
No, here we go. The town, comprising of one house, a burger joint, and no citizen who isn't a teenager or a cop, is overseen by Sheriff Randy Quaid, who displays all the reverence the script deserves. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could say... But then again, they were focusing on the kids, the kids hanging at this burger
The story was about
joint.
they were outside Tucson. It's not like
Yeah.
Tucson's not like some hole in the wall, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's,
Paul Atanasio from the Washington Post says, there is all too little of the quietly charismatic Sheen and all too much of Cassavetes. How do you say his name? Cassavetes?
Cassavetes.
I think it's Cassavetes.
Cassavetes. And
Coravetes.
and all too much of... And what, Justin?
Coravetti.
Because he drove a Corvette. That's a bad joke. We can cut that
Talk
out.
about it, made me laugh.
Linger.
Wait, Cassavetes?
Yeah.
And all too much of Cassavetes, who is a dead ringer for the young Hugh Hefner.
What?
Oh,
I can
yeah, I
kinda-
can see a little Hugh Hefner
Yeah, I can
vibe
see
there.
that.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite part of that review.
David Nusser from Real Film Reviews says a sluggish
This guy
thriller
again.
that suffers from a lack of cohesiveness in its half-baked narrative.
Let me tell you something about this guy. He hit the nail on the head.
All right, here we go. TV Guide, a ridiculous mishmash of drag racing, ghosts, and science fiction.
Yeah, that was the best part.
All right, John Nickham from Lawrence Journal World says, quote, this movie makes no sense.
What?
It certainly doesn't make no sense. There are elements that make no sense, but the overall
Agreed.
point, if you don't get the overall point,
Yeah.
I mean, how
Yeah,
can you not get the main plot? Like,
It's one obvious plot that everyone can relate to that's comprised of a bunch of shit that doesn't make sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
all right, one more negative, because, yeah. All right, here we go. One more. Christopher Lloyd, not the Christopher Lloyd, based on his picture.
According to him, he might be the Christopher Lloyd.
Is he a super reviewer? Because it might be Christopher Lloyd.
No,
Yeah,
he's
how
from
old
this-
is he? Is he like a year older than Christopher Lloyd? And he's like, I've been here a whole year longer. God damn it.
He says, no, why wouldn't you go by Chris Lloyd? I would at that point.
Because
Are you...
he's making a stand. He's like, fuck that guy. He's like, I'm Christopher. Yeah.
But Christopher Lloyd's cool, though. I could see if he was like a douchebag.
Why should I change my
Yeah,
name?
that's
He's the
true.
one that sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
So Christopher Lloyd from the Sarasota Herald Tribune says a big glop of low-budget Hollywood cheese sliced from half a dozen other movies. Still, as a piece of 80s zeitgeist, it offers something of a glimpse into the national psyche of the time, not to mention the feather hairdos and jean jackets. He gave it 1.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, he's not.
I don't like it.
Oh, here we go. So this is what I've learned, folks. Apparently, Caffeinated Clint from Movie Hole eventually has changed his venue to Caffeinated Clint at Film Threat. So I guess he changed publications
really?
or whatnot.
Changed
Yeah, so it says
allegiances?
here. Yeah, Caffeinated Clint from Film Threat says an imaginative thriller piece. Actually,
okay.
I'm wrong. It says an imaginative thrilling piece.
Oh,
Well, still.
Same thing, but
now
you
I
know.
don't like it. Film Threat's old school, man.
Yeah.
So maybe he went from Film Threat to Movie Hole. But this was in 2005, so I'd have to look around. But anyway, Felix Vasquez Jr. from Cinema Crazed the kind of revenge B movie you can enjoy thanks to its eclectic tone and unique hero.
Yeah. Every one of these, positive and negative, I don't think is too far off the mark. I mean, there's a lot to be said for everything that people said. Like, even the negative stuff, I wouldn't, like, I wouldn't be like, oh, like, I wouldn't, like, join a rally to, like, bring this movie down with these people, but I'd be like, yeah, that's a good point, but I still enjoyed watching it.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, they have valid points. This movie, I can definitely see this movie not being for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna like start off and say I did enjoy watching this movie and I like this movie, but I'm probably gonna like rip on it going forward unintentionally. So I apologize in advance, but I did like it.
I'll do two more real
Did
quick.
that throw you off your game? Okay.
No. I was just reading ahead. I wanted to check out another review here. So David Keyes from cinemaphile.org says, it does not achieve the same absurdist grandeur of, say, Sky Bandits or Mannequin. I don't know why they bring Mannequin into the mix, but which are essentially live-action cartoons, but it means well.
What the fuck
I don't know
is
what
Sky
Mannequin
Bandits?
has to do. I don't know what Sky Bandits is, but I don't know if it's the Mannequin movie I'm thinking of. I don't know what the hell that has to do with any of this.
I don't know.
This has been like in certain circles. This is the Mannequin of revenge car porn movies.
Is that
I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, it's
the Mannequin? I'm gonna use the movie Mannequin to gauge other movies. I'm gonna be like, The Last Jedi was the Mannequin of the Star Wars franchise.
Well, it did have Mannequin Skywalker.
Mannequin. Anyway, Janet Maslin, one last one from the New York Times. Mr. Cassavetes, how does he say his name again?
You're never
no,
gonna
I'm
get
not.
it.
Mr. Cassavetes is effectively black-hearted and makes a striking figure, and Randy Quaid does a lot with the underdeveloped role of a local sheriff.
I agree with
and
that.
this is an overall 3 out of 5. But,
I agree with that,
but
actually.
anyway.
that's fair.
So, Mike, this was your selection.
Correct.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your history and how it ended up here on the Guild? Are you there?
Sorry, you gotta cut that dead air out. I was yawning. It was like a super powerful yawn. I couldn't hold it back. God, I sound like a broken record. But again, this is another one that I saw when I was pretty young on TV, and being a kid, this movie was like awesome. Like this is and you know how you talk about how you would see movies and you thought quicksand was going to be a much bigger problem. I thought drag racing and like people forcing you to drag race and lose your car was going to be a much bigger problem. I'm not kidding. Like I thought that was like a thing that like teenagers did, like a widespread thing.
That's why I waited till he's 26 to get his driver's license.
No, like seriously, I thought that was like. I was like, that's a thing that people do?
I could see that being a kid and seeing that and being like, oh man, like, especially in such a small town, like, and nobody's doing anything about
exactly,
it.
exactly,
yeah.
Back. So it kind of, that like, kind of stuck with me as a kid. But no, I don't know, it was always, like, just, like, cool to me. You know, there was the car chases or races. Charlie Sheen. I was like, Charlie Sheen's in this movie? Because I was already aware of who he was when I saw this. Because he was
When you saw this and you noticed Charlie Sheen, did you notice when you were a kid, did anyone else stand out to you, or was it just Charlie Sheen?
Just Charlie Sheen at the time, yeah. I might have known maybe Randy Quaid. I guess I may have known who he was, but I definitely recall knowing who Charlie Sheen was.
Oh yeah, everyone knew Charlie Sheen in '86.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of Red Dawn. Well, I mean, I still am.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I knew Charlie Sheen probably at that time. That's one of my all-time favorite movies still to this day. I love that movie. We'll do that sometime. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those movies that like was always cool to me, and I've seen this movie a million times.
Yeah, Lucas, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Wraith, Platoon, and then I think that's really like the start.
A shit ton in '86.
Yeah.
Busy.
That's probably what skyrocketed him.
Yeah, then Young Guns. Well, Wall Street, Young Guns, Major League.
Yeah. But this one, again, this is one that I've watched so many times through the years, and I'm a little bitter and pissed off that this is not on Blu-ray. It blows my mind.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, like the most updated format is DVD, and it only came out on DVD like a few years ago.
Jeez,
Yeah, it's
really?
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, you can get it streaming, obviously. I'm sure that's how you guys saw it. But yeah, that's weird to me that it's never had a nice Blu-ray release.
Yeah. Well, cool. So Justin,
Cool story, bro.
so we mentioned obviously Charlie Sheen, Randy Quaid, Clint Howard, and arguably my favorite character of his. I did appreciate how much he was in this movie. Like normally when you see Clint, he's in like a scene or two, and that's it. But he was a solid character throughout.
He was very of that group, of the gang. He's the most sympathetic because he was kind of out of the loop with all the really bad shit they were doing.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
True.
We'll get into that, but he was kind of a lot more innocent than the rest of them.
Yeah, he was doing it it sounded to me like doing it for the right reasons. Like, he brought his blueprints to do up the cars real cool and beef them up, and
he was just
go
interested
on races
in the cars
and win more cars. Yeah.
He was the star of Evil Speak, if you've ever seen that.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. He was the star of Ice Cream Man.
Oh, yeah. I
can picture
I think
that
Evil
cover.
Speak was better.
I have to see that one. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Well, maybe it'll be a pick coming up.
Sweet.
I didn't know he was in Star Trek Discovery as Creepy Orion.
Really?
Sounds
No
appropriate.
idea.
He's had quite a career.
Yeah.
Oh,
he
yeah.
has. How many credits?
Rock and Roll High School.
248 acting credits.
I'm not surprised.
That's crazy.
But most of them are like you said, like it's just like a scene. But hey, he's a working actor, so.
Yeah.
So, Justin, what is your history with this flick? Have you seen it before?
I have. So I did not see this as a child in the 80s, and I didn't even know about it until maybe about 15 years ago. So somewhere in the last 10 years, I watched it for the first time, which I really wish I would have saw it as a kid, because if I saw this when it came out, this probably would have been one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this to me, like young, like 80s Justin would have been like 100% into this. You know what I mean? The cars, the kids, like it's just a bunch of kids just hanging out and stuff and drinking beers and
Eating
swimming
racing racing cars.
eating burgers,
drinking
racing cars,
brake fluid.
brake fluid,
Whatever
yeah.
they're drinking.
That's real strong
Yeah.
stuff.
This shit's got a real
A
kick.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
So, my experience with this is I did not see it until a couple days ago.
Wow.
Oh wow.
So
Didn't
we've got
see it, and to
three
be-
different experiences, three different time frames.
And I'm where Justin was, a couple years ago. I never even fucking heard of it.
Wow.
I just haven't. That's
Interesting.
shame on me, but I'll definitely get into what I was focusing on with this movie as we go here. It kind of was what I was expecting, so it didn't blow my skirt up. I mean, I knew what I was getting into, and it was kind of that. I do have some questions, though, that I look forward to getting answered.
Yeah.
I did like how in the beginning, the Packard character, played by Nick Cassavetes, I like how him and his crew approach that other couple, walks up to the car, and they're like, what do you want? Why are you bothering us? What's going on? And they say something to the effect of, well, let's just say what we want is pink.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the woman sitting next to him is like, oh no.
Yeah. But he wants his pink
But it's
slip
like-
for his car.
Yeah, it's for the title
The
or whatever.
registration
for the car.
or the title.
Yeah.
The title.
I even rewound it. I was like, did he say it's pink?
Yeah.
But
pretty
anyway.
good.
So, taglines for this film. Let's get into the taglines. I would like your thoughts on these. I do like how they put the underneath Wraith.
Oh, do they?
Oh,
Like
they
in-
do. That's weird.
Yeah, if you...
That's
even in the film itself, not only on the
I
cover,
never
but
picked up
also
on
the
that.
film, it has the underneath the
Wraith.
A. He's not from around here.
But he kind of is. Spoiler alert. Anyway, not a good one.
Well, yeah, we'll get back to that. I really want to dig into that, but I want to hold off. So here's the second one. An evil force took his life. Oh, God, that's a fucking spoiler. Now an unearthly power has brought him back. Jesus Christ.
Well.
So they just get right to it
synopsis.
with these taglines.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Here's another one. He's heaven sent and hell on wheels.
Well, damn.
So again, these aren't holding back. They're just revealing everything. All right, here we go. ... His spirit returns for revenge.
Yeah, so this movie's not going for any kind of subtlety at all.
No.
Here we go. Here's another one. If you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to fear.
That's pretty generic.
This one's a good one. He is a phantom. A wraith.
To be fair, that's the best one. Like, it doesn't give anything away, and it's like...
Yeah.
It's like he's, I don't know, but still not great.
So, yeah, no, it's not great. So, the Wraith, as you're watching this film, you see this figure, this mysterious figure. In fact, from the beginning, during the beginning credits, you see these lights like blasting all around in the desert environment. And finally, they converge at like an intersection.
The crossroads.
And these lights then, the crossroads. The lights then transform into this mysterious being in like this.
It's not that
almost like a
mysterious if we're being
space-
honest, because it has the Dodge emblem right on the hood.
Yeah, true. But his uniform is a little mysterious.
That's true. No emblems.
It's almost like a racer's uniform combined with like a spacesuit.
Yeah, he's like a goth BMXer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how it begins. So the Packard character, obviously, from the jump, is going to be a real
Which, by the
dick,
way,
Oh, he's a real.
to say it nicely.
he's named after a car.
Oh yeah.
So you right off
Packard.
the jump, you kind of get the impression that okay, so whoever this mysterious Wraith character is and this Packard character, they're clearly going to converge at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you pretty much know that by like 3 minutes into the movie.
They were really terrible, awful people too.
Yeah.
Like early, like immediately, I got an icky feeling. And it just was like, ugh, these guys are gross, and it just never went away.
Well, they all like
These guys are like eternally awful.
they're like reaching into the car, like grabbing at the girl's like shirt
Yeah.
and toying with her.
Well, and I'll tell you, not only the crew itself, but the Packard character definitely achieved what it was supposed to achieve. However, it took it to a different level because he seemed so deeply damaged.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the way he spoke to the Keri character, who was played by Sherilyn Fenn. The way he spoke to her and told her that only he can be with her and
Yeah,
nobody else, and I love you, no one else will love you this much ever,
Yeah,
and
he's
you
like,
need
"You're
me,
mine."
and you're not going anywhere. Yeah, you're mine. You do what I say. You go where I say. He pulls her out of work.
Yeah.
Tells her to get in the car.
Threaten to
like
cut
that
her.
kind of shit. Like it was another level kind of like creepiness. There was a real world vibe mixed in with that, which
Yeah.
made him even creepier. Especially when you saw the scenes where he'd be watching her from like across the street.
Oh yeah.
And he would be like tearing up.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ. You know, just real creepy.
One of the scenes that always stood out in my mind from a young age was when she's in the car with him and he takes the knife and he's got it in his hand and he he like yanks his hand up on the blade and cuts his palm open like doing like a blood oath.
Yeah, and then he like puts it towards her
Yeah,
face and she like gets it on her mouth and she tries to pull her head away.
Yeah.
Just really creeper stuff. You know, like I could tell from the beginning. I think the line he said,
Yeah.
"You're mine, and I'll do anything to keep it that way." I'm like, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
Yeah.
man. So I'm like, come on, Wraith.
And that's not even the worst of it. Once you see what he actually is capable of later on in the movie, once you see the flashbacks, then you're like, holy shit, yeah, he really is a horrible person.
He's bananas.
Let's talk about the tweakers.
Skank and Gutter Boy, yet another relation to the Crow.
Oh, which we haven't even gotten to yet.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that, and we'll come back to that.
But I just want to point out that we are going to talk about the Crow comparison with this film, but we can start right now with the character of Skank. There's a character named Skank in The Crow. Now, it's a little different because in The Crow, Skank is kind of like the little Weasley one that kind of talks weird. Now in this one, that's Gutter Boy is the one that acts kind of like that, I think. Mm-hmm. Skank is the one with the mohawk. So they switched it up a little bit, but there's still that character that acts a little
you say they switched
Weasley.
it up. This movie came out before The Crow.
Well, I mean, I'm saying they.
And
as
I don't
in
know when
the
James
two
O'Barr
movies.
wrote The Crow. I don't know those dates.
I think it was like 89 or something. It was released. So I don't know when he actually wrote it.
It took him a long time to write it. I wonder if he may have been influenced by the Wraith.
I'm not sure.
I mean, it's possible.
Anything is possible, Mike.
That's true. You can dream it, you can achieve it. Or you believe, whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so another thing, compared to our last episode, which was Real Genius, which had, to 80s standards, a killer soundtrack, this film had a killer soundtrack as well. In fact, some would argue that this film had a even more killer soundtrack.
I was going to bring that up. I think this one tops it, yeah.
I agree. You got Ozzy Osbourne doing Secret Loser.
Yeah.
Which is not like a top hit, which is still a good song.
Yeah,
like
it's a
Secret
good...
Loser is a pretty awesome Ozzy song that's not like top 40 or whatever, you know.
And the scene that it's, in is like... It fits so well into that scene, and it's like, get you pumped. You're like, yeah, they're racing, and Ozzy's playing. It's really cool.
That's exactly what I said when I was watching the movie.
I'm sure you did.
No,
out loud or in your head?
Out loud. I woke the whole house up. I want to read through the soundtrack real quick, which you can buy for the affordable price of $49.98 on Amazon.
Oof. I found a copy on eBay for like $10.
Did you?
All right.
Yep, I bought it.
Did you?
Well, nice.
Yeah, I did. I actually did. I bought it last night.
Good for you.
Oh, God, you're weird. Listen.
Dude, I don't miss a beat.
No, I know you
Did
don't.
you buy? Was it on vinyl or what?
No,
or was it
CD.
A cassette?
CD.
It was on CD.
I like how you say you don't miss a beat when you bought a soundtrack to a movie that came out 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was watching it this time, and I was like, "Is there actually like a soundtrack album available?" I never looked before, and then I found it, and it was like expensive, like you were saying. And I went on eBay and I found a cheaper one. I was like, "Oh shit!"
Where's the Fire by Tim Feehan, Heart versus Head, Stan Bush, Never Surrender by Lion. Those were the days. Honeymoon Suite, Hold On, Blue Eyes, Young Love, Hot Love, Jill Michaels. Secret Loser, Ozzy. Bad Mistake, James House. Wake Up Call, Ian Hunter. Did I say that one? A Matter of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler.
Smoking in the Boys' Room, Motley Crue. Rebel Yell, Billy Idol. Addicted to Love, Robert Palmer. Scream of Angels, Nick Gilder. Power Love, Lion. And then The Wraith Suite, Michael Hoenig and J. Peter Robinson.
Yeah, I see that now.
So,
I believe I missed Motley Crue.
Yeah. That is in that movie. That's right. Smoking in the Boys' Room. That's definitely in one of the scenes. So there you go.
That's pretty cool. So the racing in this film. What are your guys' thoughts on the overall racing and the cars, and like what do you get out of it? What do you take away from the film, and just your overall thoughts?
The racing is great. The cars are cool. The racing itself is cool.
And there's a lot of cool cars, and like each person in that gang had their own car, so it was like their own. It was a very 80s thing, like it had its own identity. You had Packard had the Corvette. The one dude had the Firebird. The other one guy had a Daytona, which is actually a lot of these were all GM cars.
Yeah,
I noticed. Like there's one of the cop cars in Malibu. Even the ambulance was a Dodge Ram. Van. The guys at the Tweakers were driving a Barracuda.
It was the Cuda. Yep.
And see, that's where my knowledge definitely lacks. Is I can't look at a body of a car, and know what the hell it is. So I certainly
to an extent.
Yeah, I certainly feel I may have missed out on some of like the oh shit factor because I just don't know cars like that, and I certainly don't get excited about cars like that.
So now that we're talking about cars, that's a nice segue into what the Wraith's car is.
Please do tell.
It is a 1982 Dodge PPG M4S Turbo Interceptor. It was a prototype, only one in existence.
Oh, really?
Yep. And they used it as a pace car for the Indy 500.
Is
At
it still
one point,
around,
I
you know?
guess. That I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if you could go like look at it somewhere because that is a wild
It's
car.
a neat car. Do you want to know how much that car cost?
Sure.
$1.5 million.
Wow.
The paint job alone, $40,000.
God.
That's a ripoff. It's black.
Yeah. A little bit more about the car itself. They never drove the car because they couldn't insure it. So they just used it. You know, the real car was just for like the glamour shots, basically. You know, like the camera sweeping around it and stuff.
Yeah.
What they did, they made replicas to drive. They just
See, that's interesting.
yeah, they used a Volkswagen chassis, you know, the guts, and made a fake shell of the car around
Wow.
it for all the
That's
racing
wild.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool as shit, because that was actually going to be my next question. Like, why the fuck are you going to drive a car that's one of a kind? How could you even risk driving that car on
Yeah, they
literally
didn't.
cliffs?
They couldn't even insure it. So right there, that tells you. Yep.
That's cool.
But yeah, and that's one of the cool things about going back to my thoughts on the actual racing itself. I like the environment they're racing in too. The desert, you know, the rocky, deserted roads. I think that's cool because a lot of times when you see like the drag racing and stuff, it's always like either like small town or city streets, like public.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not these like winding, hilly back roads in the desert.
agree.
You never really
Yeah.
see that.
I agree. And I think that's what I was looking for in this, because you're right, Mike. A lot of times when you see those kind of safe environments, they can kind of like keep the environment safe so they can be a little riskier with the actual racing. So usually when you see these risky environments, they usually get a little safer with the actual driving. Hence, what I was looking for when I was watching this movie and the race scenes, I thought I was going to see a lot of kind of cheating, and I didn't see it. And like what I was looking for was if they filmed things in like a slower speed and sped it up. And usually like the telltale sign of that would be like if you see, you know, the dust or dirt that's kicked up, if you see that moving in an unnatural speed, you can tell that they're just speeding up the film. But they weren't doing that, and if they did do it, they hit it in such a way that I couldn't hone in on it, which was awesome, which tells me that these guys were actually flying around on these cliffs.
I'm trying
crazy.
to remember the stunt coordinator for that was
Buddy Joe Hooker.
That's it. Yep, that's him.
He wasn't playing on this one because they literally one false move and you're like, people are dying.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thought they were going to be cheating it. Oh yeah, he was also involved in Grindhouse, which the 2007 with Tarantino. That was another one that was not cheated. Like that was like legit, and they even did that intentionally to do like old school, like high speed. And not only that, I was impressed with how they had the cameras rigged on cars where they could stay ahead of the action. Like that shit was uber impressive to me.
Yeah, it was set up well for the most part.
Yes. So, but that leads us.
I keep hinting.
Yeah, there was a horrific accident during production of this film.
Yeah.
And I don't know if one of you guys wants to take it.
Do you know the details around that? I don't. I just know it happened. I don't know any of the details.
All I know is that Bruce Ingram was you said something different than what I read. I read camera operator. What did you say earlier, Pat?
His title for this film, well, two things really. Second unit camera operator and first assistant camera. And obviously the film itself is also dedicated to the memory of. And to my knowledge, I heard that it was one of the camera rigs. There was like 4 or 5 people on this car that had camera rig on it, and the car lost control and everyone flew off the car. I don't know if the
saw
car
that
rolled.
I think the car flipped.
Yeah.
Is what I,
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
And a bunch of people were thrown off the car,
Mm-hmm.
including him, and he just didn't survive.
Yep.
So
That's a shame.
It sucks.
he has 16 camera and electrical department credits. So he's been key grip, dolly grip, second camera assistant. That's primarily his job, though, is second assistant camera and first assistant camera on a bunch of different things.
Yeah, that sucks, man. But I mean, again, like you were saying, what they were accomplishing, where they weren't cheating, where they weren't speeding up the film and you know, doing weird, fancy editing around it and stuff to make it. They were really doing it.
I mean, look, you're certainly playing with fire by having high-speed racing in that environment.
Right. I mean, that's just right there is all the ingredients you need for a tragedy to happen. I mean,
it's just a devastatingly sad situation. For as fun as films are for all of us, you just hate to see and hear stories like that, and it's just sad. So all of our respect here from the MacGuffin Guild to the life and work of Bruce Ingram. So let's move on to something a little more upbeat.
So Randy Quaid in this movie, you're used to seeing him play like very over the top, very, very, very much chewing the scenery, and he does not do that in this movie. He's very restrained, very straight in this, and I dig that. I think that definitely like it would have been a little silly if he was, you know, as over the top as, say, you know, Packard is with his evilness. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It would have been too much. I think his character really works, and one scene in particular that I really like is when he's got the group of the gang at the police station, and he's basically like telling them, you know, a couple of your buddies are dead, blah blah blah, and he's sitting there with his scissors and he's got the piece of paper and he's just like cutting, and you're like, what the hell is he doing? He's like giving them this big long like monologue, and then at the end of it, he's got the what do you call it, paper dolls with the heads cut off, representing the remaining guy. Like the whole scene, he's just sitting there casually cutting as he's talking to them. That scene is like masterful to me.
It's good.
I like him in this movie. He's, like I said, he's not being all Randy Quaid.
Yeah, I agree. He did hold back, but it felt weird to me. Like when I was watching him, it was very strange to me.
It is. It's different. You're not used to seeing that.
Yeah. I don't think he did a terrible job, but I think this was not a great role for him.
I can see that.
My issue with that character, with the sheriff character, had nothing to do with Randy Quaid. I thought he did what he had to do with this role. I definitely questioned, like, I would have concerns if I lived in that part of town and that was the police force that was in charge of, you know, my well-being and safety. I just felt like I expected him to do a little more to kind of try to get to the bottom of this. I felt like he based his the amount of effort he was willing to put into his work based on what he felt of the people involved. You know, I thought that was poor
police work.
Poor police work. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know, but anyway,
I'm wise with words.
Yeah. So Augie was the first of their friends that raced the Wraith. And there was first of all, there was an awesome Dutch angle shot in that first race scene, which again, I was really impressed by the camera work, not only being able to trail the action, but also get really good shots of the action. And a Dutch angle shot, for anybody who doesn't know, is when the camera is just tilted. So like everything is at an angle. And there's this really cool shot, if you watch back during that Augie race, there's a really awesome Dutch angle shot of Augie's car right before it crashes, which really jumped out at me. It was like an oh wow shot.
Oh, cool.
But then what's that, Justin?
I was going to say something that was unintelligible and just say when he gave it to him Augie style.
He does. He says that in the movie. He's like, give it to him Augie style.
Yeah. But after Augie died, they weren't shook at all about that. Like
They didn't give a shit.
Yeah,
they didn't give
really
a
didn't.
shit. So like, I mean, is that really the crew of friends you want to be rolling with? That they're just
He
like
even said something like he's not worth crying over.
Yeah, that's fucked
Does
up.
he say that? Yeah.
And you know, it sold the Keri character made me like her even more because she was the only one that was shook. She was like,
Yeah.
poor Augie. He was a good guy, you know, whatever she was saying. But she was like messed up by it, and they were like,
Yeah.
Well, 1/3 of his crew was drinking hydraulic fluid. So,
True.
Yeah,
That's
we
true.
gotta factor that in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the Packard character just wanted anybody around him that was willing to hang around him and do his
Yeah.
bidding. He didn't give a fuck about them
Yeah.
on any personal level.
No,
all.
not at all. It was all for his own personal gain.
So, okay, let's get into this then. So we see right off the bat that after Augie dies, the other police then bring his body over to the sheriff, who's scolding his crew, the living members, Packard and the crew. And then the cop comes up, or the ambulance driver, whatever freak it was, comes up and says, hey, sheriff, you might want to see this. And then they look at the body, and Augie's body, although his skin tone is a little off, he is not even remotely burned, even though his car exploded on impact. And his eyes are gone, correct?
Yes.
Okay, can we dig into that? Can somebody explain to me what did that represent? And that was a
Nothing.
theme that carried through. Like, what was that about?
I think there were several things in this movie, like ideas that he had that he wanted to write in that just never really kind of...
Or maybe it's things that they just cut out for whatever reason that left little plot holes.
Well, did they? I don't know that that's the case. I feel like it was...
I'm just saying, I'm speculating.
I don't think they cut anything off. I think he just had all these ideas and just threw everything at the wall, and it just kind of... That was actually one thing I was going to point out that like I did not like about this. Like it was just like a lot of ideas thrown out there that never really came to fruition or made sense or like had any bearing on the story. One being that where they tried to make this thing where like, is he stealing their souls or something? Or I don't know. It kind of seemed pointless. And then the other thing is after every one he kills, like part of his body becomes repaired, which kind of like, I get the point a little bit, but I think it just never really...
It's never really explained.
Yeah, it never was explained, and it just didn't really have any impact on me.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that the Wraith actually was like an avenging spirit? Or do you think he was an alien being?
He did have the feeling of both. I'm pretty sure he was a spirit of vengeance, but he did kind of feel alien.
He was like otherworldly.
Yeah.
And the fact that the lights come down, it almost like at the beginning there's like, I think there's like 4 lights that come like down and then they converge and form him, and then his suit is kind of like a weird hybrid of like a racing suit / space suit almost.
Spaceman, yeah.
His gun is like a futuristic gun with little flashing lights on the side.
Yeah. It
Why
definitely
would
felt more...
why would a ghost spirit have a super
shotgun.
futuristic shotgun spaceman gun thing?
Yeah, it definitely felt more celestial than spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I certainly have questions about that. Like the overall concept I understood, but the decisions within that concept definitely left some head scratching going on there.
Yeah. I'm wondering if there's just some like aborted ideas that they didn't quite fully realize. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they ran out of time or budget to film some stuff, and they just left these dead ends in there. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen anything about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So again, at this point, so after Augie's death, now we got to see. Okay, so you have this one crew that bets people or dares people, you know, race me, and if you lose your car. And then you have the Wraith, who is clearly racing them and picks off this first one. So then when the focus shifts back to the crew again, like I said, they didn't give 2 shits. Keri showed more interest in Augie's death. I noticed, obviously, that Packard was more concerned with why Keri was talking to Billy than he was by his friend's death. That then transitioned to the scene that you brought up, Mike, with the blood lovers, where he cuts his own hand and then tries to make her, drink his blood. And then she says to him in that moment, "I've never made love to you, never will." And he says, "You will." I was just like, man, they're really hammering this home.
He's a psycho, man.
Yeah, he is a psycho.
It was really interesting, too. His character wasn't about, like... And it wasn't like a sexual thing. It was more of an obsession thing. Because he was, like, bigger than... He could have, like, raped her or something.
Yeah.
Which would have been awful.
Yeah.
But, like, it was all about, like, trying to assert dominance over her.
It was a controlling thing.
Control.
He wanted her mind... Also, like he wanted to control her mind as well as her, her body. Mm-hmm. He wanted everything.
Yeah.
He wanted to like break her.
Yeah.
In every sense. Yeah.
So the Wraith eventually makes his way over to the shop, let's call it, where the crew, Packard's crew, and all the tweakers all hang out and do their chop shop work. And the Wraith definitely made one hell of an entrance into the shop, and then they did that weird cutaway where they show Charlie Sheen's face behind the mask.
Yeah, that is weird.
It's like a freeze frame, and then like speeds into the face real quick. It's just really weird.
That scene didn't make sense to me. It's like you go in there and you're just like, oh, I'm here to seek vengeance. I'm going to shoot your cars. And then maybe race you later. I don't know. It just didn't.
Well, yeah, it seemed
weird.
like he was cutting his own. He was cutting his own feet off because didn't he? His whole point was he was going to try to pick them off one by one at their own game. So why the fuck blow their cars up?
Yeah, like it was just a weird. It didn't make sense to me, that scene that what was in there.
Well, then again, but they still had cars afterwards, so...
Yeah, his method of vengeance was not... Like, because then later he just drives his car right into that shed and blows up two of them.
Yeah, it's true.
Why didn't he just do it then? And just while they're all there? Like,
maybe he just wanted them to know that he was after them. Like, that he was coming for them.
I don't understand that.
That's movie logic.
I do have a question about one of the guys at the shop the first time we were in the shop. I wasn't able to determine which character this was. I don't know if it was Minty was one of the characters, but he was the guy that when we first were inside the shop, we see the dude who's wearing like a casino visor, and he's got like a Wall Street Journal.
That's the guy. He's the guy that was wearing the Letterman jacket earlier in the movie, I think.
Yeah, I think that's Minty.
It is Minty?
Yeah, he's just dressed differently. He's not wearing the Letterman jacket.
Okay. He's the one driving the Trans Am.
Okay, because I did appreciate...
That's what I got out of it.
I did appreciate how they tried to develop that character a lot in like the one scene by literally giving him a casino visor and putting a Wall Street Journal tucked in the front of his pants. Like that told me, oh, okay, he's the numbers guy, he's the info guy, he's the one that's always watching the market and making sure, they're selling their shit for the right prices. Like that's Minty. So,
but he was also the Letterman jacket guy, so it was kind of weird.
But see, I wasn't sure at that time if that was the same character, though. I had trouble determining who he was.
I think it is, yeah. I guess it's kind of like he's... Yeah, I don't know what the Letterman jacket signifies for his character. I don't know.
Not sure. Brooke Burke, you guys familiar with her?
Nope.
Brooke Burke had a cameo at the...
the model or something, whatever
joint.
She is?
Yeah, so
she's one of the waitresses.
Oh, yeah, she was like 16 in this.
Yeah, I don't know who she is.
She holds many titles, including mother, television host, fitness guru, podcaster, author, social media mogul, with almost 4 million followers, and cancer survivor. Forbes
That's
recognized
almost as many
Brooks,
followers as us.
Yeah. Forbes recognized Brooks' work by listing her as one of America's top 10 moms to follow.
Weird.
So anyway, she's kind of one of those people, an entrepreneur type who's just involved in a bunch of different stuff. I feel like for at least a period, did she host one of those shows like Entertainment Tonight or something? I feel like she was.
I have no idea.
It sounds like it. I know the name is familiar. I just don't know. Yeah.
When I heard her name, I could picture her face. But anyway, so she had a cameo.
Claim to Fame was hosting on Wild On the E! Network.
Maybe that's what it was. I knew her from E! That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew she was involved in one of those entertainment shows. Oh, she was on Entertainment Tonight, by the way. Continue. Sorry.
Speaking of the place where she works, what's it called? Big K's Burgers. That place, the building itself, was a hair salon, apparently.
That's what the director claims. Yeah.
that they converted into the burger joint, and then once they were done filming, fixed it back up. Yeah, that building no longer exists because that filming location video you sent us, Justin, was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's give that guy a little
what was his name?
Shout out here. I wrote it down. Mobile Instinct.
That was
his, and this dude apparently is on YouTube.
Is that Irish?
It's on
Irish.
YouTube and Instagram. And this guy's got a ton of followers as well. I glanced at him on Instagram.
Yeah, super cool video.
Yeah, it was. I really, really enjoyed the part where he went down the mountainside looking for car parts.
Yeah.
From would that have been Augie's car?
I think that was Augie's collision. Yeah.
Dude, I would have grabbed something. Like you saw the little seatbelt thing. I would have just grabbed it because you don't know.
That's what Sarah said.
Or the radio. Yeah.
She's like, I just put that right in my pocket.
Me too.
Because he wasn't sure. Well, for the listeners, he went down the mountainside where the one car went off the road and down the mountainside and exploded
at the bottom of this ravine.
Yeah, and he walked down there and he was finding car parts, but he couldn't say one way or another if they were remnants of that car,
but some
or if
of
they could have
those
been from
car bits were burnt up, like they had been in a serious crash.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but,
this Mobile Instinct on Instagram, he's got over 14,000 followers. So this guy, I don't know what his deal is. His name is Chris. He just puts his first name in his bio, but this video was pretty serious. Like he literally traveled out into Tucson, Arizona, is where they filmed the majority of this film.
Yeah, there was a lot of work put in it.
A ton of work, like legitimate work, where he matched up frames from the film to like mountain skylines to try to figure out where they were kind of positioned to shoot certain scenes. It was just wild. I watched the whole thing. I've really appreciated that.
I like the one part where he was at the little watering hole or whatever you want to call it that all the kids were hanging out at, and he pinpointed like this is where they were floating down. Charlie Sheen and Sherilyn Fenn were floating because you can see this rock has like this shape and this coloration, so you can see that's where they were. I was like, Jesus, man, he really did his research.
I got to be honest. If I would have picked a film and picked one scene in the film and found one location and made one YouTube video talking about that single location, I would have been totally impressed with myself.
Yeah.
And this guy, he found like 20 plus locations. Like
he found a bunch of stuff.
Buildings that didn't even exist anymore. He like he showed where the pine tree or the not pine trees, the palm trees were still there.
Palm trees.
And just like rock formations that like and mountain ranges, like crazy shit. And he did it multiple times.
And all the roads.
Yeah.
Remember, the one road that he said doesn't exist anymore, but it was like a little bike trail, and he was like, I think this is where the road was, because you can see the relation of where the mountains are behind, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, geez, man.
Pretty cool. Yeah, really impressive.
Yeah.
So anyway, how did you come across that video, Justin?
Sarah found it. I don't know how she did. She sent it to me. Yeah, she was sending me a bunch. She sends me a bunch of stuff sometimes, but I don't always look at it. I should. In all fairness, I should.
Are you talking podcast stuff or just things in general? Like your wife's trying to communicate.
Life stuff, baby names and stuff like that.
baby names.
No, she sends me like podcast related stuff.
Oh shit!
Holy shit! Well, and let's play off of that. We'll play into the other thing that you sent us, Justin, which was the article.
Oh yeah, which she also sent me.
Which we were starting to get into a little bit with the whole Skank conversation, character of Skank. The comparisons to the Crow.
Yeah. It didn't even occur to me till this time we were watching it, and Sarah said something like early in the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, it kind of is like the Crow on wheels.
It is, and it's like, if you're familiar with both movies, you can definitely see the comparisons. Again, the character of Skank. There's a character named Skank in both films. Mm-hmm. There's that weird squirrely character, which in The Crow, that character is Skank. Mm-hmm. But in this one, it's, what is it, a gutter boy?
Mm-hmm. Gutter boy.
There's the avenging spirit going and picking off these gang members one by one. There's the lone cop who's kind of wrapped up trying to figure out what's going on. Mm-hmm. What else?
The exact same number of kills.
Yep. Although, technically the Crow kind of has more. There's that scene where he's killing all the guys in that room with the big long table. But if you don't count that scene, yes.
Yeah.
The individual, like, one-on-one personal kills of the gang members, yes.
And also, the website, the link she sent me was by...
That was a funny article, too.
Yeah, it was well written. I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty good. It was like, is it tehben.com? Tehb... Oh, the Ben, but I get it. tehben.com. Your mom's favorite website is what it's called. So, check out that article about the Crow. It was really good. Well written. And
No,
it was fun.
it definitely was. If you want to dig in more and see the comparisons between the two films, that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about Sherilyn Fenn.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't talk about her much.
Dude, this might get cut out.
I hope not.
Man, I still get the shivers seeing her, man, in the scenes at the little watering hole.
Oh, really?
Good God.
Yeah, that was pretty
dude.
good.
I was like, God damn. She's a goddess.
It's funny because the first thing I remember her from was Twin Peaks, and I don't know if I know her from anything else. And then when I watched this, I didn't even recognize her somehow at first. And then when I saw her,
She looks different.
yeah, she looks totally different. And I was like, oh wow, like how young was she? But they're like, if you think about it, the Wraith and Twin Peaks weren't really that far apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a handful of years.
Few years, yeah.
So, Mike, if you liked her at the watering hole, what did you think when she actually showed her boobies to Jake?
Oh, dude. Let me just tell you, as a young boy seeing that,
Yeah.
whew, that left an impression.
Yeah.
There's 3 scenes back to back that show boobs in that movie.
Okay. Discuss.
There's we talked about it earlier, the scene with Packard with the girl that he's getting ready to have sex with, and Randy Quaid pops in there. You see her boob,
Topless one.
and then you see the flashback.
Mm-hmm.
You see her. You see. Do you see Sherilyn Fenn's boob?
You know what? I do remember what you're talking about because at the time her face is covered, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they used a body double.
They
or
may
something.
have.
They-
but
you
either
do
way, you
see
see
her
a boob.
boobs.
You see, yeah, and then you see her and Charlie Sheen when she.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
Pulls her
then
pants-
led me believe they didn't use a body double because right as I was thinking that's when it went to the watering hole scene where she
it's
took her
like back
top
to back
off
to
and I was
back
like, yeah.
in a PG-13 film. That's mind blowing.
Yeah, that is mind blowing.
I remember the rule of thumb in the 80s for PG-13 was always they could say like one F-bomb, but it couldn't be used in a sexual manner, like I'm gonna you. It could be more like just like fuck you. And they could show one quick boob shot. Always one example that always stands out in my mind is Critters 2. You remember that?
I don't remember.
When the bounty hunter guys that can change their like form.
Yeah.
The one guy is trying to decide who to change into, and he picks up a Playboy and turns into a Playboy playmate, and he's topless. Or she.
Yeah.
And then because it was the centerfold, there's a big like an oversized staple in his like on his belly that he goes and yanks out. But it shows boobs.
Yeah.
A PG-13 film. But they could get away with that. But this movie shows at least 3 times.
Yeah.
There's at least
There's
5
another-
boobs shown.
Yeah,
I think it's a total of 5. 3 of them might be the same person's. But
yeah. But still, that's crazy to me. And I don't mean to keep harping on it. I just find that strange.
So are
Like,
you
that they-
sure when you say that this movie stuck with you because of the cars and the racing, are you sure that's the
Well,
case?
and the boobs. Well, the boobs, too.
Yeah. It's the Holy Trinity. Violence, cars, breast.
But yeah, so we're talking about the flashback then, which the flashback reveals that Packard and his gang are the ones who killed Jamie, who is Billy's brother and Keri's boyfriend.
Man.
And I find it funny that later on, Keri is like, so it was you. So I guess she didn't see who it was who broke into there, but she suspected.
I thought that was weird too. Like you had to know who it was.
I'm guessing she just maybe didn't see them. Like maybe they like shoved her away and she didn't see who grabbed him.
She was in the thralls of ecstasy.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
I
Little strange,
didn't make sense here.
or maybe it was so shocking that her mind just blanked it out.
I don't know.
I think there were some script problems here.
Yeah, for sure. So can we
Yeah.
talk about then? So spoilers ahead for sure, because now we're just going to like get into the plot and the twist. So if you're interested in the twist, then just pause it now and come back later. So
Which you should have seen this movie before
Yeah,
you listen
yeah.
to this anyway.
the Jamie character gets killed, which is Billy's brother, Keri's man. He gets killed, like thrown in a
By
trunk,
Packard and his gang.
and they like put him in the trunk and whatnot.
Yeah, and then they push the car off the cliff, and we'll establish that Rughead, Clint Howard, is not there and has no knowledge of this whole murder. He's part of the gang, but he's outside of that.
Okay, so if you haven't figured it out at this point, or if you've seen the movie, then you've almost certainly figured it out by this point. But the Charlie Sheen character, then clearly this mysterious man who appeared because a bunch of beams of light converged at a crossroads, and he has these weird scars on his back and on his neck. It turns out that we learn, is Jamie in some kind of weird
Reincarnated form.
Yeah. So clearly the elephant in the room is, if you are going to have, and I know this came out before, but if you are going to have a Crow situation where you have the Eric Draven character come back for revenge, at least he came back in the same form. Imagine if he came back as Charlie Sheen. Would that be a little weird?
Yeah.
It was weird because there was like 3 iterations of his person. There was like his like regular body, then he's like, yeah, I came back in like the closest form I could, which is just Charlie Sheen. And then also as this like BMX
Spaceman.
stormtrooper thing. Yeah, spaceman. I have 3 forms. None of them have any cohesion whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like,
So
that was just a weird part for me.
It feels like there's something missing there.
yeah, like I'm
something was
trying to
left out.
rationalize. I'm trying to rationalize. But then, okay, from a story standpoint, I can understand why they did that. Because if you want this Wraith to be mysterious, unless you keep his
He would
helmet
have to
on
look
the
different.
whole time,
Yeah.
which they weren't going to do, because if you're going to put Charlie Sheen's name on it, you have to show his face. So if you're
Right.
going to have the Charlie Sheen character running around and being mysterious, you can't have him be the boyfriend from the past, because then Keri's going to know right away, Jamie, you're back. So I can understand
and his
it.
brother is going to know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Billy's going to know right away. So I can understand it from that perspective. You want to keep the mystery alive, but you want to be able to show Charlie Sheen's face. So I feel like that was the conundrum they were up against.
Yeah, it's just a weird way of doing it to me. I feel like, not that I have a better way off the top of my head, but it was just weird.
Hey, you know what?
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 In the John Carpenter classic, God damn it, what the fuck's the name of it? the one with Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid? Is it Dennis Quaid?
What?
This is the worst presentation.
What's Starman? God damn it. Is that
Oh. No, that's not Dennis Quaid. That's
Is it Jeff Bridges?
Jeff Bridges?
Thank you. We just watched that like last week again.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's a space alien who decides to come down and takes the form of her dead ex-husband.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
It is.
Yeah, but
It's true.
But how good is he at making love? That's really the ultimate deciding factor.
I mean, Jeff Bridges? Or as a character?
I mean, the alien in Jeff Bridges' form is what I'm asking about.
Yeah, but I think with that, I think that they explain it where their concepts of the way we do things in life and death are very different, which he explains later.
Yeah.
So I don't
I
think
know.
he understands
I'm
the
just saying.
implications of as just popping up as someone's dead loved one. Be like, this is weird to you? Like, you know what I mean?
It
Like,
seems like those two movies should have been opposite.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Jeff Bridges, he shouldn't have came back as her dead husband. He should have came back as someone else.
A wraith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in The Wraith, he should have came back as his original form.
And then what
but
they
it
should have done,
wouldn't
instead of
worked.
calling it Starman, they should have called it Carman.
Carman, yeah.
Right?
There's got to be a mashup somewhere of these.
Yeah.
But I wish
I don't know.
I wish there was a way that they could have had Charlie Sheen be the character, even if they went this route. Even if no, they couldn't have done that. I was gonna say maybe if they would have made like Keri, like after this traumatic experience, maybe she got like they kicked her ass and she became like a vegetable, but they couldn't have done that.
Well, they could have they could have conked her on the head, and she could have had like.
No, I was just trying to think.
She wouldn't have to be a vegetable.
But could they have?
They could conquer her over the head, and she could have like that section amnesia. You can have selective amnesia.
Okay, because here's what I'm saying then too. Because the Charlie Sheen character came back in some kind of weird reincarnated version of Jamie, but at the end of the day, I guess he did. Did he stay with Keri? Did they run off together? I can't remember.
She, the very end of the movie, which I never noticed until I watched Good Bad Flicks.
Mm-hmm.
He did an episode. He mentions that they ride off together. She's on the back of the bike when he rides off. I was like, I never picked up on that. So she rides off. After he drops her off, he's like, oh, there's something I have to do. And then he goes to Billy.
Yeah, gives him the car.
And he gives him the car, and he's like, do I know you? He's like, you know who I am, or something like that.
Yeah, because he's like, do I know you, bro? And he's like, you said it, or something.
He's like, you said it. Yeah.
And then after he leaves, I love how Billy he runs out the door and he's like, Jamie.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's actually good. Because
it was a touching scene. I think they could have. Yeah. I liked it.
Everything just felt off. It was like close, but not like it was like a little forced.
It just missed the mark.
It's still better than no.
Oh, Darth Vader.
Yeah. Still better than that.
Well, at least we got the roller coaster out of that.
But I really do wish that there was a way, though, that they could have found some kind of happy medium scenario where maybe like the Charlie Sheen alien, he's
totally an alien.
Or alien or whatever he is. But if they could have like, maybe he was there to represent Jamie, or Jamie sent me. Like something where he was fighting for Jamie, but he wasn't Jamie in just a different body. Because that felt a little cheap to me. You know, like... Okay,
I see what you're saying, yeah.
You know, so now she's going to run away with this other guy who's got Jamie's scars, but he's not Jamie. Like, you're not Jamie, you know?
I think there could have been... I'm going to think about this because I don't have it worked out in my head. But as we're sitting here thinking about it, I think there's a way that they could have had Jamie come back as the Wraith, who's slowly introduced into their lives, where like he's racing him and she's starting to develop this like farther away relationship where she's kind of seeing him and they kind of don't make eye contact because he's wearing the thing, but like slowly starts to pick up like little movements or something. Then he kind of get to talking and everything, and then I don't know. I think there's a way they could have done it.
No, so you're saying Jamie would have been the Charlie Sheen actor, and he would have, and Charlie Sheen would have played Jamie in the flashback. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they wouldn't do that because you're not going to have Charlie Sheen and cover his face for an hour.
So
and 15
they make
minutes.
something that doesn't make sense. And was he super big at this moment, or like?
I mean, he was the name. I mean, regardless of how big he was, I mean, he was.
Like I said, when I saw this movie, I knew who he was.
Yeah.
Because they said that he did this movie, like him and Packard, they did this movie to get out of the shadow of their parents or something.
Oh, well, yeah, he would have been big because his dad. Everybody knew his dad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was Charlie Sheen. I mean, let's think. So,
yeah, Lucas, Ferris Bueller, yeah, I don't know.
He was the name, for sure. They weren't going to cover his face.
I do have one question that I'd like to pose to you guys. And that question is, can one drink various car fluids without dying?
Yeah, I don't know. I was curious about that myself.
Because I think they were drinking different things. Like I noticed the bottles were different.
Too.
I couldn't tell you what the hell they were.
I think one was hydraulic fuel
I think
hydraulic fluid while they were in the airport or in the the junkyard.
Yeah.
But dude, I think pretty much any of those would kill you. Like, it wouldn't just make you tweak, it would kill you.
I don't know. Let's see. Let me Google it.
You might be able to survive some of them. But man, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can see them like huffing them, but drinking them? Whew.
I'm not sure. All right, so the last thing I want to do, I just have a few very quick Pat's points. I'll blast through them real quick.
Pat's points.
Respond as you see fit, and then we'll get to our ratings here. I noticed the old classic police car, the style of car. I don't even know what style of car that was, but like those boxy police cars.
I like the
very classic.
I know one at least was a Chevy Malibu.
Dude, I love those. Yeah, they brought me back, man.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen a cop car like that in a hot minute. It was old school.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah. My dad actually had a Chevy Malibu. It was an old decommissioned police car.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah, it was my grandmother's car at one point, and then my dad got it, and then he took it to some place to get it inspected. And that thing was pretty fast from a grandmother's car. And then the mechanic, I guess, told my dad, he's like, yeah, this is an old police car because there's like a stamp or something in the trunk or something, like on the frame. Yeah, but he wrecked it. Yeah, it had an 8-track in it too, so that was cool.
So speaking of wrecked cars, that at one point when the Wraith walked in there and shot up all those cars, that yellow car got like blasted. Like it was one of those cars that had that, I don't even know what that's called. I'm not a car guy. That has like that engine thing coming out of the top of the hood.
Oh, yeah.
They like blew it to shit. But then like the very next scene, they were at the burger joint and they had that yellow car. Did they fix it up that quick?
Yeah, I think so, because they showed it with Bondo and stuff all over the hood afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, they like patched it all up and stuff.
They had a blower on top of the thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just didn't know if I missed something there or if they did in fact just fix that yellow car back up.
Yeah, they fixed up his Corvette too, because he trashed his Corvette too, and he fixed that up pretty quick.
Nice. Gutter Boy and Skank, again, that's a lesson for all of us not to be a tweaker.
Yeah.
Because they were
They
were
a hot
less
mess.
than desirable. Can someone explain to me the graveyard moment when Packer sees his own tombstone with his name? What the fuck was that about?
I'm assuming that the Wraith was somehow able to get into his head and make him see that. It's never explained. It just happens.
But it was also weird too the way he did it. He's like, you're just gonna drive through here and desecrate all these graves by blowing their headstones off, just so I can make a point that you will be buried here. And I don't even think he ever acknowledged that he saw it. It's like, oh look, I did all this work so you'd see this thing, and you're not seeing it. I'd be upset.
I think he did. I feel like he did though.
He may have. I don't
Yeah, I'm not.
I think he like noticed it at the last minute. He like looked at it. He's like,
I'm not
like
sure
he saw
on
his
that.
name
That's
on this tombstone.
kind of weird and random.
Rughead, played by Clint Howard, with the titular line of the film. There's that Wraith out there, a ghost.
Yeah. He seemed to know a lot about wraiths all of a sudden.
I mean, he was a smart guy. He had a briefcase full of blueprints.
Yeah, he was definitely like the
knew
brains. That's why they kept him around.
The Billy character outside the burger joint when Packard came and then started kicking his ass, like beating him up, punching him in the face and shit. That made me feel bad that no one helped Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he was a good guy, and everybody just stood
If
there.
you
and he's getting his
notice-
ass kicked, and all he's doing is fighting to protect Keri, to protect the girl.
You notice one guy
fucked up.
starts to walk forward, and another guy grabs him by the arm and stops him. There is one
didn't
guy
see
that
that.
tried to. Yeah, if you watch it, there's a guy that tries to like intervene, and another guy he's like,
Yeah.
no, you don't get in that.
Well, honestly, though, in real life, too, if you knew that there was a gang of dudes that got away with murdering somebody, like, even if you suspected it.
True.
And, like, oh, they're going to, like, this dude, that guy decided to jump in and get in that guy's business and get his ass kicked, I'm going to think. I might even think
but here's the
twice.
deal. If you're going to let another guy get his ass kicked, that's one thing, but he's literally kidnapping that woman from her work.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're not going to step in and be like, yo, bro, she stays here. What the fuck are you doing?
They're
You
probably
can't
used
kidnap
to
a
it.
person.
He did it all the time. He was just constantly there all the time.
Yeah, that dude was
you
like
know?
a powder keg waiting to explode, and I think
Yeah.
they all knew it.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
like 9 feet tall, too.
Also,
Like,
where's
it was-
the owner of this burger joint?
Yeah.
They're never there.
But yeah, I see your point. It's a good point, but I
It
think
is.
in real life, like, a lot of people would be kind of
Intimidated.
intimidated.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It is.
A couple things real quick. That barn explosion was one of the coolest fucking explosions
Yeah,
I've
it
ever
is.
seen in a film.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, I said the same thing
Like,
to Sarah. I was like, dude, that explosion.
It's just
I think
like-
all the explosions in this were great.
Yeah, the one car
Yeah.
that explodes going down the mountainside or the ravine or whatever. That's
That was cool, but I was expecting this barn explosion, especially when he was driving in. I was like, "Oh, here it comes!" But it exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
That thing had so much force; it was fucking insane.
I kind of feel like it was one of those explosions where they then had to make like certain laws and rules like after that. Be like,
Yeah,
there's only so much
exactly.
explosives you can use after this.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like they hired a guy that didn't quite know how much explosive material they needed.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they were like, "Jesus fucking Christ!"
Yeah.
That thing was
agree.
intense.
Yeah.
Like, if you've never seen the movie, look that explosion up. That thing was awesome.
Yeah, it was like, wow. I think a lot of times they slow down explosions in movies for effect. And I don't think this was. They were just like, wow. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was,
it like played in real
exactly.
time, much like the racing scenes.
yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Justin. A lot of times they'll show the same explosion from like 4 or 5 different angles and re-show those same moments.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
not with this. It was like real time. Here it is.
Boom.
And yeah, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, you can almost feel that explosion. Yeah.
All right, what about that awesome rainbow shot that they got, which was a complete mistake,
I
or
read
not a
that.
mistake, but just a happy accident?
I read that in the things and I forgot to look for it and then I missed it.
I missed it. Where
Did you not
No.
see it when the film played?
no, what part is it?
Oh, see, that's the kind of shit I pick up. I didn't even read about it. I just saw it. There was that scene where I don't even remember what was happening. I think it was during one of the races, and they were just blasting down the road, and there was this awesome rainbow in the background, which was just, you could tell it. I mean, there wasn't many CG, if any at all. Well, I guess there was with the lights in the beginning and the car appearing, and then the car on the horizon stuff. But other than that, there wasn't a lot of visual effects. So that rainbow scene was like a legitimate rainbow that they just kind of captured.
No, I missed that totally.
Yeah, look that up. That was a really like a beautifully shot scene. The last thing I wanted to say, which we already kind of touched on, and then we can get to our ratings, was the Sheriff Loomis character. Okay, so if we all established that the script was poor, even still, what was the intent? What the hell was the director's name? Mike Marvin. What was his intent? What was he trying to portray with the Sheriff Loomis? Was he trying to portray that he was so burnt out on this Packard crew that he didn't give a fuck if they were getting picked off? Or was he just oblivious? I guess that had to be it, right? That he was just, he didn't care enough about this crew to pursue. Because at the very end, the last scene, don't you see him sitting there and he sees Charlie Sheen and the Keri character riding off on the bike, and he's just like, eh. And he keeps eating his burger and then like rolls up the window.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I just think he sympathizes with I think by the end, does he figure it out? I forget. Does he figure out?
I got the impression that he figured it out,
that's
and he was
what I
just
was getting.
less than interested in pursuing it.
I think he was like, nature sorted it out.
Yeah, but even if you hate Packard and his crew and you're okay with them being removed from the scenario, wouldn't you want to know why this mysterious man shows up who's all scarred up, racing these people, blowing them up, their bodies are not being affected by the explosions other than their missing eyeballs? Wouldn't you want to kind of know?
Maybe he was like, I don't want any part of that shit. I'm just going to sit back.
The last Pat's point that I want to touch on is every time that one of these Packard's crew members was picked off and the Jake character was kind of like his redemption was being played out one murder at a time, they would cut to the Wraith and he'd be standing on a cliff and a piece of what looked like I kept thinking of like Forrest Gump's magic shoes.
Yeah, they're like leg braces and arm braces or something.
Yeah, those braces. What did he call them? They're my magic shoes.
Magic
Is that what he
legs.
called them? They're my magic legs. I
Yeah,
can't remember what
whatever it
Forrest
was.
Gump said. But yeah, they're like these leg braces and these arm braces, and the Wraith would have one on, and then after each murder of this, vile crew, they would cut to the Wraith, and then a piece of this brace would disappear. So can someone explain?
Nope. I don't have a clue what that was about. I've never been able to explain that. Justin?
I think he was trying to get to a point. I think the point he was trying to make is with each. That's what I'm saying. I think there was like ideas there that if they were to come together a little better would be like make more sense. But it was just kind of like all over the place. But I think that was supposed to be him. Like with each act of vengeance, he becomes more. Like he becomes stronger and more powerful and more of this world or something. But I just think it just didn't. It was just like I don't know. Okay, now your arm's not in a brace, even though it doesn't matter because you just raced the car with no effort. Like, it's
Yeah,
if they would have made
what it was.
translucent, in which each one you see him become more whole or something. But even that doesn't make sense because he would go back and forth between.
You know what would have been cool, but they wouldn't have done this. It would have been cool if, so if you want to have the Jamie character played by Christopher Bradley was the actor's name who played Jamie in the flashbacks, and he was the boyfriend who was murdered. What if the Jamie character was actually played by Charlie Sheen? And when this Wraith character appears, what if the Christopher Bradley character plays the Wraith? And what if after each death, instead of the Wraith losing a mysterious arm brace or leg brace, what if he started to transform more into Charlie Sheen?
Like, just being reborn so he can live again, basically?
Yeah. Like, what if they did that? Where
that would make
That's
more sense to
interesting.
me.
Yeah, it's
like where it
interesting.
shows him as that alien, but instead of like the arm brace coming off, like maybe the sleeves come off, so he has like a sleeveless jacket or something like that. And then the final thing is the helmet comes off, and then you see it's his face.
Or even if they want to show Charlie Sheen, what if they show just variations of Charlie Sheen in like makeup where he looks more like, he looks less like the original boyfriend and he starts to transform as the film goes, but it could still be Charlie Sheen. But then again, it all comes back to they didn't want to cover up the face of their main man.
This is what irritates me about having known people in movies where you have to have their face in there. It's because it's like the same thing that happened with Spider-Man 3, because like you had to have Topher Grace's face on Venom the whole time.
Yeah,
it happened with
exactly.
Judge Dredd because Stallone didn't want to wear the mask, even though Judge Dredd never takes off his mask. Like, props to Carl Urban.
I think we're dealing with similar situations on The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You hear stories being leaked that there's an issue and he wants to show his face more. Well, the character is not supposed to take his helmet off.
Yeah.
So we got ourselves a problem.
Yeah, that's so
but
ridiculous.
Justin, what do I say? What do I say all the time on the show? This kind of ties into that, where I always try to walk that line of respecting the art or respecting the business. And this is one of those situations. I agree with you. F that. If you're going to tell a shittier story because you want to show Charlie Sheen's face and sell more tickets, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to kind of conform to that way of thinking. I'd rather tell a good goddamn story.
Yeah. Like,
You
if you could show his face more without affecting the story, fuck yeah. I'm like totally cool with that. But if you have to sacrifice any logical, because especially think of all the hard work that people did on this that we talked about already, like all the stunt coordination.
They
the dude
died for this
it,
movie.
Yeah. So fucking Charlie Sheen could show his face, like,
I know.
not so he could show his
In a
face, but you know what I mean. Like, it's just like I think that's the weakest part of this is this fucking convoluted story. Which is why I think if I was a kid, I would have loved this, because I'm like, I wouldn't even care. I'm just like, yeah, shit's blowing up. These cars are cool.
I can look past all that because I already fell in love with this as a kid, and that shit didn't matter.
And honestly, I can too, because I enjoyed watching this, and I definitely will watch it again, and it's a cool movie.
Plus, it has a lot of boobs in it.
There's a fair amount for PG-13. Yeah, thanks.
But you know what you do then? But they wouldn't have done this either. If you want Charlie Sheen's face in the whole thing, then you make him Packard.
Yeah,
Boom,
make
there.
him Packard
But
and
they
make
wouldn't
Nick Cassavetes make him
Jamie.
Yeah.
/ Jake.
and then you don't have to show his face the whole time.
But
you
I don't know,
But
man.
whatever.
I think
we
Nick
we know why they made these decisions. It's just a damn shame that the
Yeah.
story had to get so wrecked in the process.
Nick Cassavetes so big and scary though too that he played that part perfectly. I think.
Yeah, he's perfect for
Yeah,
that
but then again,
character.
he may have been a badass wraith. Think
Yeah,
about it.
that's true.
That
Yeah,
would have been pretty intimidating.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But how intimidating would Charlie Sheen have been as the bully guy?
Picture him in the police station in Ferris Bueller. He would have been that guy.
Yeah, which is not
Remember
right.
that
Yeah.
scene with Jennifer
Yeah.
Grey where he's like, maybe this could have been the prequel to that scene.
Yeah, he's
vice versa.
too likable to be the villain now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, then maybe he's too likable to be the wraith.
I think this is what we finally got from this whole thing.
All right, so let's do this then. Let's rate this thing so we could start to shut this thing down because I think we've spent enough time talking about the wraith. Mike, you know what? I'll leave it up to you since it's your film, your pick.
I'll rate it first.
Okay.
And then I'll do a pat. I'll just throw it to one of you after. I haven't decided yet.
Okay. Sounds good.
I mean, this movie clearly has flaws, as we've pointed out numerous times throughout the episode here. But despite those flaws, I think this movie is super enjoyable. It's fun. It's light. You know, it's not something you have to sit there. Well, it seems like we're thinking about it a lot, but I don't think you really have to think about it a lot when you watch this movie. Mm-hmm. It's just you watch.
Yeah, don't get caught up on the leg braces.
Yeah,
Just kind of let that
you
go.
just watch the car chases. You watch the teens hanging out at the burger joint. You know, you watch the shop explode.
Yeah, definitely watch that. If you're
yes.
gonna watch any scene,
Yeah.
watch that one.
And again, like I said, this movie would probably appeal to younger people, I would say. More so.
Younger boob loving people.
Yeah. That all being said, I would give this a 7.3. I'll go 7.3. My instinct was to go higher, but with the flaws, I went a little bit lower. And now I'm going to throw it to Pat.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have respect for the stunts in this, the car, whatever you call it, the car chase work, the car race work. I don't know how you'd refer to that. I'm not sure.
Carmageddon.
Yes, the Carmageddons. And I have respect not only for that, but also for the filming side of the car stuff. Like it's two extremely difficult tasks being done in unison, which is impressive. And like I said, from what I could tell, they didn't cheat a lot. It was like done like real deal. So I have respect for that. I appreciate definitely the explosions, the action, that kind of stuff. And I appreciate the throwback vibes of the of 80s flicks that did have the boobs and the kids hanging and hanging by the lake and just doing kid things. And I appreciate that stuff. There were certainly elements of this film I appreciate. So I'm going to give it bonus points for that, but a majority of those bonus points get quickly wiped away by just the convoluted shit show mess of plot that came beaming down from outer space or wherever the hell it came from. So I don't know. I don't see myself ever really kind of watching this film again other than to maybe watch that damn explosion because that thing was fucking awesome. Yeah. But I'm probably gonna go under 5 on this one. Like I'll give it like a 4.5. I mean, it was okay. It was okay for what it was. I mean, I'm glad I watched it, but I definitely got some things out of it, like some enjoyment out of it, and I was glad to see some of those actors again. Like to see 80s Charlie Sheen is cool. But anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna go with that. What did I say? 4.5, 4.5. That's what I'm going with.
JJ?
So, Justin?
I will go 6.3. maybe a little higher. I don't know. I like because it is super fun, and I definitely will watch it again at some point.
Me too.
The car races are good, and I love all the cars in it. I love like anything with cars, especially like unique cars with character and stuff. I'm like already into. That's why I like a lot of like post-apocalyptic movies. It's just like for the vehicles and the cars, and I think maybe just even growing up in the '80s where that was a huge thing. Like we had the Masked Crusaders. You know, I don't know if we talked about that before, which was like all the various cars that transformed into other things, and they were all unique and had their own personalities. And I think the plot was weird. I didn't know what was going on. I think there was a lot of good ideas that just never came together. I liked the actors in it. I didn't really think the acting was great, but I still enjoyed watching them. Like, I don't know. I just like seeing Charlie Sheen and Sherilyn, Fenn, and everybody in here. I thought it was just fun to watch. And like I said, like I knew Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks. And then seeing her here, it was just really weird, like, because I felt like she's more clever and wily and everything, and wily, I don't know if it's the right word. She's more clever and I don't know, just a different character, where she kind of almost in here seems ditzy compared to her character.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and she's kind of more of a sex symbol in this one than in Twin Peaks, so which was kind of a little weird because I just just knowing her from Twin Peaks.
Mike liked her Twin Peaks.
Yep.
Yeah, there's things I like, and I'm kind of in the middle of the road with, but I like I said, I enjoy. Oh, and I do like it was in Arizona. I'm trying to think of other movies that really make me feel like I'm in Arizona, which I've never been to, and I'd love to go, but I don't know.
I love it out there.
I don't know yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to go, and it's just looks cool. I just like that this feels like when you're watching it, it's like, okay, this is in Arizona.
If I were to pack up and move anywhere in the United States, that's where I'd go, Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yes.
How many times you been out there?
Only one time.
Okay. But you liked it?
Well, I've been to Nevada technically twice. But,
okay.
Yeah. But I've been to Arizona once on one of those Nevada trips. And yeah, I just love the whole look, the whole aesthetic of that, the desert, the rocks. I love it so much.
When all this shit clears up, let's take a MacGuffin field trip out there.
I'll do it.
All right.
So Justin, 6.3 you say then?
Yeah, I'll say 6. I'm going to go 6.4.
And
6.4?
6.4. All right. So look, here's what I just want to say about my rating.
You don't have the nostalgia factor.
I don't have the nostalgia factor. I'm not a car guy. And although I appreciate the racing and the cinematography, the skills and the effort that it required to film this stuff, I don't want to come across sounding like a hater. So, I'm sticking with my 4.5, but there's a reason that, I have to keep things in perspective here. If I let my passion for the moment get involved in all of these films, everything would be a 6.5, and then I'm not really gauging anything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, I'm not trying to be a hater, and I think this suffers from one of those things that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. And as you listen to the show more, and eventually one of these days, I know we're going to get into my whole beef with Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. This kind of has an element of that. And I feel like if you want to affect negatively the impact of your film and your story, you cannot put the main man above all else, or you're going to affect things negatively. And I think it did. And that's a turnoff for me. I don't
agree
like
with
that.
Yeah.
I agree with that, for sure.
Any final thoughts before we shut it down?
I want to just point out, I mentioned it earlier about the time of year they filmed. Mm-hmm. They filmed in January and February.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, granted, it's warmer out in Arizona.
Yeah, like what I don't even know what the weather would be out there in January and February.
Well,
would it be like 40s and 50s? I don't know.
Probably.
I have no idea.
Probably. Let's just say they said the water was freezing.
Oh, that's right. They were in the water.
Yeah, they said
Oh man.
there's a line that Charlie Sheen says. She says something about the water being nice. He's like, it's a little chilly for my taste. Yeah, that's
yeah.
because
Right,
it was
yeah, I
fucking
did see.
freezing.
Jeez.
And then the scene where their little love scene in that little water hole that they're sitting in, they had that lined. They put like lining in that and like heated the water, and they had to heat it for like 3 days or something. Yeah, so it was cold, and all those people sitting on the rocks and stuff, sitting there in bathing suits. Now, granted,
Yeah, that's nuts.
they're not as cold as they'd be in the water, but I'm sure it was still not exactly comfortable.
No. Well, laying on rocks didn't look too comfortable. Either.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Real quick before I forget, the average score between the three of us, 6.06 is what we got on this.
That's very fair for this.
The weather right now, because it's the end of January now, going into February. The weather in Tucson right now, 70. This is like, 7-day forecast. 70, 60, this is the high. 70, 68, 61, 70, 75, 73. That's not exactly swimming weather.
Yeah,
And the lows at night in the 40s and 30s.
Yeah, so you got to figure the water is probably super cold.
Shout out to our listeners in Tucson, by the way.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
We got quite a crowd of listeners in Tucson. I just made that
That
up.
may or
gonna
may
have
not be
to-
true.
You're going to have to pick up for all the listeners we lost in Alabama over the last couple of days. Shout out to Alabama, though. If anybody in Alabama is listening, we are just kidding. And Mike just had a moment, and
Oh, it was totally
you guys.
jokes. I was being stupid. I'm not. I do not think that about any particular state. It's just.
no. And for anyone who has no idea what we're talking about, just listen to the Real Genius episode, and you shall
All the way
get
to the end.
answers.
Or just skip to the end. That was the best part.
Yeah.
I'm the worst hype man ever. Hey, you want to check out my thing? It's all right.
Speaking of the end, let's shut it down.
Word
Yeah,
up.
let's do it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Be sure to check out all of our social media. Make sure you follow all that stuff so you can stay up to date with what's going on. And we are thrilled to have you as a part of the guild. So please keep on coming back and being a part of this. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord.
Don't forget to vote on the final film that we will be watching. On
Yep. Get on there, vote on the final 3, so you can lock down what episode will be featured, or what film will be featured on our 25th episode. So, Justin, Mike, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next week.
Later, bros.
See ya.
Peace.
I raised you better than this.
How did you come across that video, Justin?
Sarah found it. I don't know how
Oh, cool.
she sent it to me. Yeah, she was sending me a bunch. She sends me a bunch of stuff sometimes, but I don't always look at it. I should. In all fairness, I should.
Now,
but,
are you talking podcast stuff or just things in general, like, your wife's
I
trying to
just life
communicate?
stuff, baby names and stuff like that.
Baby names.
No, she sends me like podcast related stuff.
Oh shit.